We are live on the PHU Dynasty podcast. This is episode 96, the Kentucky Elks team review. One of the more anticipated team reviews based on the last few years of the rebuild. Also has a zillion cuts to make this year, Sean. So it should be very exciting. Frankly, just way too. Oh my gosh! Now I got my own video playing in the background. So this is very, very unprofessional, but it's now in the chat so people can actually watch it. So that's the important piece of this. All right. So anywho, yes, very, very interesting cuts that will have to be made for this squad. That will frankly affect other teams too, just based on the fact that they'll probably pick up some of these rebuilders that we have towards the bottom of the power rankings here, Sean. We'll be fighting over these scraps, if you will, like a bull shark to a nighttime bloodfest in the water. They'll be there, so it should be very interesting. We did have a flurry of things happen this week, Sean. We also had the Quinshon Judkins news, which was not good for the Lambs. We also had a little bit of a trade to kind of help the Lambs with that, with the Jerome Ford trade that I believe sent away Kayshon Boutte and I want to say a third, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So, I mean, that was an interesting little trade just to try to patch some holes there. But Quinshon is a pretty big, pretty big news piece for the dynasty community like ourselves. I mean, he's not signed to the Browns right now, which makes the situation even more interesting just because we don't really know how it's going to play out. Usually, the NFL is kind of all over the place when it comes to these things. So, I mean, it's good for Dylan Sampson owners like me for now, and Jerome Ford owners, I guess. But
yeah, it kind of crosses over like a bigger story that honestly really hasn't been covered that much. The fact that like so many second round picks have not signed.
I think it was like 30 of them or something, right?
So it's Schweissinger and
to the Bucks
and Jaden Higgins are the only second rounders to sign, because Higgins signed a fully guaranteed deal, which was the first time a second rounder signed it. And because he went after Schweisinger's deal became fully guaranteed.
So then those two are fully guaranteed. Now everybody wants them probably.
And the next, I believe,
Quinshon's 38.
After that was Judkins. And that creates a little bit of an issue. They were apparently, from what I was researching today, apparently the Browns were getting ready to just fully guarantee his contract, and then the incident happened. And he was arrested.
That didn't work out clearly. So, I mean, now it's I guess with all the other second rounders are still unsigned.
So now the holdup for why nobody else is signing right now is New Orleans at 40 with
Shough, which you would imagine would be fully guaranteed.
His camp wants fully guaranteed,
especially Tyler Shough. He's always hurt.
And correct. So what's happening is nobody else is moving because they're waiting for that to happen. But New Orleans is one of the last teams to report to camp.
Basically, all these rookies, all these second round rookies, just basically aren't going to show.
They report on the 22nd. The rookies for New Orleans do. So we might not find out anything until next week this time.
But aren't rookies already reporting for other teams as it stands now?
Correct. So Trey Harris did not report on the 12th.
Man, these are valuable reps and stuff.
Rookies, you do not want to miss any time. Like, look at what happened with Roman Wilson last year as an example. Like, the guy missed early camp and everything. He never played.
But it's also the first time that they're getting like truly into like the real part of the playbook too at full speed, because OTAs are not at full speed. I don't care what anybody says.
It's like your first, second teams. You get to learn like your quarterback tendencies, all those things. Like, it's important.
It's kind of tough for the second rounders this year, and I think I saw the third rounders are all good. Like, it's not a big issue at all for the third.
Yeah, it's just second rounders.
Very interesting.
There's 2 first round picks that haven't signed yet, and Barron and Stewart.
Okay. Well, I mean, all that to say, I do think the second rounders get a little bit of a hit, at least for the early season, just because I do think this means something. Like, as long as realistically they're back for the preseason games, like, that's the most important thing. But missing time in training camp, especially for the second rounders, in particular running backs, because this is kind of like when running backs and receivers, frankly, just because you have to learn the pass protection. You got to learn how to pick up these things. And like the early part of camp, is when they're not hitting as much, and that's when it's, really mental reps, which you have to have if you want to get on the field. So
there's 2 or 3 tight ends that went in the second round too. Was there
a couple of tight ends? I think Travion Henderson was in that group. I mean, there's quite a few players.
If New Orleans is planning on starting Shough, like that's not good if he's not out there as soon as they're ready to go.
It seems like all the indications they want him to start. I mean, just based on like all the camp stuff and the hype he was already getting, which is not surprising for a guy like Tyler Shough to get. Oh, look at he's great in shorts. Like that's Tyler Shough's, the Blaine Gabbert, of the world. So, so anywho, all I have to say is there was the news. I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see kind of how the Judkins news plays out, but as it stands right now, you'd have to give the other guys a bump, and just in terms of the early season potential for suspension. He's not even signed, so who the hell knows what's going to happen, frankly. So it's going to be a big wait and see. But this episode is going to be a long one. Hopefully, we'll try to keep it as short as we can without skipping over anybody. But how we're going to do this is we're going to identify the cuts again, or at least the potential cuts. We did this in a previous episode, but we'll do it one more time here. Sean will give us his projected cuts, and we'll kind of talk about a few of the players because they will have relevance probably for the bottom 3 or 4 teams in the league, cycling out depth and whatnot. There will be some players cut on this team that will likely make another team in the league. So we'll talk about those players, and we'll try to not talk about players like Zamir White that just don't need to be talked about. We'll get to him, I'm sure. But I will say before we get started with the cuts, Keep Trade cut is making me upset because guess what, Sean? Ricky White, my guy Ricky White has a 0 on Keep Trade cut. 0. That's unacceptable. That can't happen. He has to at least be like a 7. Give him a 7.
Bulletin board material.
Not one person.
Somebody sent Ricky.
Kyle Trask has 204. Kyle Trask has 204. That's not, no. I'm taking Ricky White over Kyle Trask right now. Put that on my board. Give me the 3 to choose from. Put Kyle Trask, put Ricky White, and put some other jackass, and let me pick Ricky White.
Legend has it if you type in trash on Keep Trade cut, Kyle Trask shows up too.
You get the first 4 letters. You're right there. You're right there. Kyle Trash. It's just too easy of a joke, Sean. It's just way too easy.
All right. Rid of themselves,
It's just way too easy. All right, so let's start off with your projected cuts. I don't know how you have them listed out or anything like that, but just
I have each position group and stuff. So I mean, we can.
Okay, let's start with quarterback then.
I mean, Trask is gone. I mean,
he's a goner. And
so irrelevant for everybody else.
Anybody, yeah.
So otherwise, I think he's keeping 3 quarterbacks there. Obviously.
We'll go to running backs next.
Running backs: Zamir White, Dunzo. Goodbye. He probably is out of the league. I would imagine at this point.
I don't even think he's handcuffed. I think he's technically the handcuff, but I
do have a fun stat for Zamir White if you want to hear it real quick.
I mean, listen, you're talking to the guy that prided this fan club for 3 years. So yes, go ahead.
There was only one player in the NFL that had a lower yards under expected per carry than Zamir White.
That's tough.
And it was Jared Goff.
Oh my God.
Otherwise, he was, of all players, he was the worst in the NFL.
Probably the least athletic quarterback I can think about too. Realistically, he's just such a statue. Oh my God, that's tough. That's tough. Yeah, so you can cut him. I think it's safe to cut him.
He gone. Chris Rodriguez probably just buried in depth.
I think he's probably the 3 or 4 back still.
Yeah, and then the last one I had as a potential cut, possibly for this team, is Keaton Mitchell, but that one he could not get cut. I don't know. I'm a little in between those, but he's definitely one of on the end of the roster bubble for sure.
I was gonna say it's probably between him and Will Shipley. Would you imagine, right?
Yeah, but Will Shipley's the prime.
At least he's a real handcuff.
He's the handcuff. Keaton Mitchell, Justice Hill, and I mean, I don't know. You're probably not getting nearly the touches that Shipley would.
You're trying to tell me AJ Dillon isn't the handcuff there?
No, I would venture to say he might not make the team. So
I don't think he's gonna make that team either, but we'll see. Let's go to the receivers then for the cuttables. So but out of those guys, Keaton Mitchell would probably get picked up by another team, I would imagine.
That guy, yeah, he's destined to be on Dan's team.
Yeah, he would be a great fit, great team fit.
Wide receivers, we got Bub Means.
No, not Bub.
Kavontae Turpin.
Yeah.
Malachi
Wait,
Corley,
didn't Devontae Turpin have some issues recently as well?
he got into some off the field issue.
Let me go back. Hold on now. I mean, keep going. He's an easy cut.
Yeah, Malachi Corley, potential cut. I mean,
Ass.
if you really want to play the who else is getting targets on that team, I guess you could talk yourself into that. But I just think that's tough. Elijah Moore fighting to make the Bills, I think.
He is fighting to make the Bills. Somehow people still like him. He still has 2,000 on Keep Trade Cut, and I can't figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he's not for me.
and then Mechie is just buried at this point on that team. I think they told us what they thought about John Mechie when they drafted 2 receivers in day 2.
Yeah, I think as much as I want him to succeed, I just don't think it's going to happen. Like the time missed early in his career, and obviously like the health stuff that just set him back too far. And maybe he'll get another shot with another team. Who knows? But
yeah, and then not to offend you, I also had Ty Felton and Ricky White as possibly cut candidates.
I mean, realistically, Felton, I mean, I guess could get a bump into that third spot if Addison is suspended, but realistically, he's going to be a number 4 and a special teamer to start his career, which is basically where Jalen Naylor started his career a couple of years ago. So it's not like all that different. But
Yeah.
I think Felton's got a little bit more upside just because he's got the size and length and speed, kind of where Naylor's more of like a route runner kind of guy. So like maybe there's some route for Felton, but I think Corley's
Yeah,
completely
we'll see what happens with Jordan Addison too. Potential.
Yeah, that's another interesting storyline. I think his thing is like 2 days from now or so. We'll see if he ends up getting. And I think it's the precedent usually for his case is like 3 games or something like that. So, well, I mean, it's the NFL. Who the fuck knows? But anywho, yeah. So Malachi Corley, complete ass to me. I wouldn't pick him up if I were any other team, to be honest. Felton would be like a fun pickup for one of the rebuilders because like you could just hold on to him. I think he's also a guy in the preseason that'll probably have a pretty nice little preseason because he'll play a lot. And he's got the speed and size to kind of beat some of those lower end guys on rosters. So he might be a fun one to watch. Let's go to tight ends then.
Yeah, I mean, we've got. I have 3 down as maybe cuts, but a tight end is so lowered in value in our league that like they're easy cuts because you can always find a random guy on a.
Yeah, they're just around. Yeah,
like I have Komet, Juwan Johnson, and Luke Musgrave as all potential cuts if you wanted to.
Yeah, to me, like you might try to keep Komet maybe just because
he probably has value the first half of the year with how things are going. Loveland is he's at like that report came out today. He said his shoulder was 100%, but he's still not practicing.
That's not ideal.
Which is I don't understand. Like, what are we?
You know what's funny is I think Juwan Johnson is the 3rd tight end on this team. Like if you're looking at just like regular old production, like I think he got that extension last year. Like he's going to be on the field. Like compared to a Musgrave and Komet, like from a fantasy perspective, I think he's probably the 3rd most producing.
I think Musgrave is just a easy cut at this point.
Which is crazy because like for a little while, like I was trying to trade him a couple of years ago, and like he was kind of a hot commodity for a while.
He's played 17 games through 2 years, and he had 10 targets last year for 45 yards. So
yeah, I mean, he was only used on like those like play action screeny things where it was like all completely like schemed up for him. He's not really a good blocker. He's just not the better player between him and Kraft, which I didn't really see coming out of school. I was kind of wrong on Musgrave. So very interesting there for it. So I think he'll get cut, and then Komet obviously with Colson Loveland coming in as more of the true Joker type tight end, and Komet is kind of just gonna. It's kind of this is very similar to the Bowers and Michael Mayer situation to me in terms of like how they'll be utilized. Like I think you'll see Komet just be that big bulky inline guy.
Yep.
So anywho, all right. So those are the cuts that we and I think maybe. If you were to cut Johnson, maybe he gets picked up by somebody.
He is also carrying 4 defenses, so that's always potential.
That's a great point in this situation because he might just want to hold on to some of these, younger guys instead of cutting the defenses. So we'll have to see. All right, so let's go to the actual team review at this point. So we've gotten rid of some of these guys, so we can cut this down a little bit, and then we'll start with the quarterbacks, which is a very interesting young group. Sean, I think this is a nice trio of guys that still have upside, even though that they may have disappointed recently, and then one that's in a very, very good situation. So let's start with JJ McCarthy actually at this time. I think the other two, are kind of similar. So let's start with the guy that's more of an outlier. So McCarthy, let me pull up the Keep Trade Cut screen here. So McCarthy obviously has the torn, I believe it was just the ACL last year.
Meniscus.
It was a meniscus. Okay, so meniscus in preseason, I think. Very young rookie last year at 21 years old. Basically gets an entire year of mental reps and nothing else, which wasn't that bad of a thing for him. Frankly, obviously the injury is not ideal.
I mean, coming out, he was that quarterback that probably needed it the most out of everybody coming out. So,
and the fact that Darnold played so well, like he probably wasn't going to have to play anyway. But so the injury kind of sucks. But luckily for a quarterback, it wasn't like a shoulder. It wasn't something that's longer lasting. Kind of for that position. But the 10th overall pick, his value has frankly gone up every single month. If you look at this chart here since earlier in the year with Darnold leaving, it's his show now. The only competition I believe that he even has in training camp is Sam Howell. So that I think that's basically just his job for the most part. I mean, it's kind of like a half competition.
And realistically, I think when it came down to it, I think they could have brought Darnold back if they wanted to. Financially, I think they made it happen. And them just making that choice to move on just kind of tells me that they think there's a more upside with McCarthy. From what they see
I agree.
internally. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's just like he's got a much better like raw skill set in terms of just his arm is very strong. He's super rough around the edges in college. I am really, I mean, he had that game he had in preseason before he got hurt. Like it was kind of fun to watch. He's slinging it around a little bit there. So I think if we're just talking about best situations for any quarterback at this point, you got to look at Kevin O'Connell. Like he's made Josh Dobbs look good. He's made Sam Darnold look good. He's made whoever's in there look good. Kirk Cousins.
I mean, he had Nick Mullins on a 4,000-yard pace.
So that should tell you everything right there. I mean, we don't need to talk a whole lot more about that. I feel really good about McCarthy this year. I think from a dynasty perspective, and especially in this situation for the Elk, where they already have two guys who are a little bit more established, and to have this as your developmental three, as I always seem to talk about on this podcast, have your two starters and two sure things, and the developmental guy. This is kind of a perfect situation to have him as not somebody that you need to rely on, but if he starts lighting it up, you could easily put him in your lineup over the other two quarterbacks on this roster. I'm kind of curious what you had for him in terms of your projection for this year, because he seems like one that there's a very wide range of outcomes, at least for the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, normally over the last couple of years with Minnesota, maybe a little higher. But I think with what they've done in the offseason, improving that offensive line, I think they might go a little just like tick more balance than what they had the last couple of years with how heavy of a passing game it's been. I think they're still going to be a pretty high neutral passing game team, but I really think that they're going to put a little more emphasis on the run. Because of that, I've got him at QB 25. For the year.
Okay.
I think on a normal year, I think he'd probably be around 20 for Minnesota, but I think it's going to skew a little more ground heavy.
And that's interesting because, I mean, if you look at some of the redraft rankings that I've seen around, like he's significantly higher than that 25 mark on a lot of boards. But like, I kind of tend to agree with you. They don't bring in Jordan Mason, who's more of a 2-down workhorsey type back, and bring back Aaron Jones unless they think they're going to run the ball. They also do a lot of snaps under center, which tends to set up well for play action, which is kind of the way their offense operates. The deep shots to Jordan Addison, the deep ins that develop during the process of the play actions to Justin Jefferson. So like this offense is kind of set up to be, I joke all the time, but there's like an 08 Carolina Panthers team, run, play action with D'Angelo Williams, Jonathan Stewart, and then Jake Delhomme kind of just distributing the ball.
But with like significant more creativity with O'Connell.
Of course. Yeah, it's not just the Shanahan, zone run, rollout, bootleg. It's not going to be all that. There's going to be a lot of screens. They have the personnel for it, frankly. So I actually am pretty excited for McCarthy. Like I didn't love him coming out. I thought he was a real big project, but after what we saw last year with Darnold, like there's a lot of reasons to believe that he's going to be a good dynasty asset at the very least.
I mean, the only two questions that you really have for Minnesota this year are what's the quarterback going to do? And then their cornerback depth is a little sketchy.
Yeah, I don't even name. I can't really name them.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't.
We might need Narlads here. Hold on, folks. We might need Narlads.
I think there's because they didn't bring. I don't think they brought Bynum back. I think
that was the only one I thought I could name was Bynum, but I wasn't sure if he came back. All right, so they're starting cornerbacks. Oh no. So they got Isaiah Rodgers from y'all.
Yeah,
so that's
fine. I like him as a CB3,
and he's their one as it stands right now.
Yeah,
Jeff Okudah is their number 2.
Oh boy, they had a rookie that they liked last year that got hurt.
Byron Murphy is on this team as the nickelback. So that's not horrid.
They're like a Blackman or something.
Mekhi Blackman was a 3rd-round pick. He's not projected to start right now.
That's the guy that they liked. And
they also have Tavier Thomas from the Bucks. Bucks fans know Tavier Thomas. He was kind of mid, but they just in the back end, like even like Josh Metellus at strong safety, the ghost of Harrison Smith at this point. This is his 14th year in the league. Like I don't know how good this back four is going to be for the Minnesota Vikings.
It's going to be tough, but they've got
their front seven is great.
They got one of the best DCs in the NFL. So like I tend to trust the process on that one.
I absolutely love their linebacking unit. It's so good. I forgot they added Josh Allen and Javon Hargrave too. So that's going to be a good front four, front seven. Jonathan Grenard on the outside, Van Ginkel on the outside, Ivan Pace, who is awesome. Blake Cashman is pretty good. Like they have a really good front seven, so that they're gonna just have to figure it out on the back end. All right, so let's move on to some of the other quarterbacks. We got 2 other ones to talk about. We got C.J. Stroud, 2nd year in the league last year, a little bit of a sophomore slump, if you will, based on how good he was that first year. The offense just like what an interesting situation with that previous offensive coordinator. I can't even name him off the top of my head, but he was kind of like talked about Bobby Slowick.
Yes.
He was very well talked about as like that next, young offensive mind or whatever. And last year they just could not put anything together. He got fired at some point, like, which is wild considering where he was talked about the year before. And it's just not a great offensive line that did not help him last year at all. They've completely retooled this thing. It's just an interesting situation for Stroud specifically because he lost Tank Dell in the middle of the year. Nico Collins was banged up at some point during that season. You're relying on like Xavier Hutchinson and like an older Stephon Diggs, right? That's another piece of this. So just like nothing really went right for CJ Stroud last year. So
basically put up the same numbers he did as a rookie.
Which is kind of wild because like as a rookie, everybody was so hyped,
I tend to find his season last year like very impressive considering it felt like everything was kind of going the other way.
Right.
Which makes me think that maybe I've like got him ranked too low, but when you don't have any rushing upside as a quarterback, it's tough in fantasy to like really project highly. You end up like, you have your Burrow and then like who else is going to throw a 40 touchdown season out there is basically what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of other options. What I will say that's interesting on the rushing topic is that I believe it was that playoff game where, everybody was just like, what, like this offensive line isn't working. CJ Stroud is getting sacked a zillion times. Like, why not try to like scramble and roll out more? And I think in that playoff game, he really did. And it looked good. Like it was like, okay, he's, slinging it around again. And, things started looking up. So like maybe they do a little bit more of that this year. I think also they're getting that offensive coordinator. I want to say it was from the Rams last year, Kaylee, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm. Yep.
So that's going to mean a lot more zone running concepts, which means a lot more bootlegs, which is very good for CJ Stroud, in my opinion. So like maybe there's some meat left on the bone for rushing, but not a ton.
I don't know like why, or like I just like a gut feeling like with like trading away Tunsil, like, and frankly their offensive line was probably a bottom 3 unit last year anyway. I just feel like even though it's like a total mash unit, just like the scheme change, like he doesn't need a lot to be successful. I really think it's just going to be better this year. For no reason other than I just kind of feel it.
You're just feeling it, and that's okay. That like sometimes you just got to feel it. I mean, this they got Cam Robinson from Minnesota last year, which is
kind of sucks. It's
kind of fine, but not great. They had drafted Ursary. Laken Tomlinson I loved back in the day, but he's not very good. Titus Howard's mid, Blake Fisher's mid. Like they just don't have a lot of good talent on this offensive line. Actually, they added Ed Ingram from Minnesota. I loved Ed Ingram coming out of college. I don't know if he stinks. I haven't watched him, but I liked him. And then Trent Brown, who's like 6'9", 3. He's probably 400 pounds at this point. So I don't even know. Like this offensive line, like it doesn't feel like it got better, which is like this is the biggest weakness of the entire team last year, and they did almost nothing to make it better. So I don't know what the plan is here, unless they really think that they can turn this thing around with a good offensive line coach. I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, I keep going back to like you don't trade away somebody as good as Tunsil unless you think you're better off. For me, this is just like how I feel in football. Like you don't trade away great players.
He must have been like a real issue in the locker room or something.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think that's got to mean something. I believe in the coaching on this team. Like, I mean, they've been very good the last couple of years as far as like a head coaching position. Like they've hopefully fixed the OC. Like
they're winning games.
They win games. I tend to think that they are like gonna be in that category with the Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens this year.
Whoa.
Because I think they're gonna have a top 3 defense in the NFL this year.
They do have a very good defense.
Their defense is sick.
Yeah, I mean, just look at this depth chart. You got Will Anderson at one end, Danielle Hunter on the other end, Tim Settle, who I love from Buffalo. Not sure who that Fatukasi, actually. I remember him. He's decent.
It's literally like D tackle depth and middle linebacker. Like the
Sheldon Rankins on the bench, Danico Autry on the bench, Mario Edwards on the bench. That would be better than most team starters.
And their secondary is gross.
Very good. Jalen Petre's awesome. Stingley was very good last year. They got C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Kalen Bullock was great last year. Kamari Lassiter was great last year. I mean, they're just a good team, man. They're just a good, solid defense, and they're a base nickel defense as well, which I always love.
I think they're an absolute lock to win the division this year. I wouldn't consider anybody else in that division, assuming health. Like unless
the only team that I think can maybe contend with them is the quarterbacks on this roster here is Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, and the only reason I say that is because I think they're going to score points this year. So let's go to the next guy with Lawrence here. And, I just really think that the Jags have a long way to go. Like they're not there yet. But they will put up points this year, in my opinion. I don't know. If anybody kind of can fix Trevor Lawrence, I think it's going to be this Liam Cohen offense. Not that there's a ton to fix, but like to really unlock him, to give him easier throws, more.
That's it right there.
I mean, easier throws, just more screen plays, better designed plays, frankly, a better running game, most likely. I just really think that this situation finally is the best that he's ever had, which is crazy after 5 years to just finally be getting a halfway decent situation. He's got 2 great receivers to throw to now, a solid tight end, good backfield. Like this seems to be setting up really well for Lawrence.
I can't imagine there's many or any quarterbacks in the NFL where like their numbers get better the longer they hold on to the ball. And like Cohen kind of took that to the extreme with Baker because Baker is like his own worst enemy when he holds onto the ball, like
Right.
probably more so than most other quarterbacks in the NFL. And Cohen just kind of like knew, like he figured this out pretty quickly, and like it just turned that offense like I think it made that offensive line look maybe even better than it is, and that's a very good unit in Tampa. And it makes me think that potentially, what does that mean for Tampa this year? Like, do they look the same? Do they look better with continuity? Obviously, with injury, you don't know. But what does that mean for their O line in Jacksonville? And like, can that like raise their floor? Because it's a offensive line that's been, frankly, just pretty bad the last couple of years.
Well, I will say this just on Cone, like in the Bucks offensive line last year, the Bucks, I think, were a little bit overrated from a pass protection standpoint on the offensive line, but they were underrated from a running blocking situation. Like they were tremendous. I watched so much of their tape from last year, just watching Bucky Irving and Rashad White. Like they are a awesome running blocking team, but pass blocking, they did give up sacks, and obviously a lot of that is Baker, but just on the interior, they kind of got beat at times. So I think for Trevor Lawrence, like in this running game, which is I think is the biggest piece of this, they need to just take some of the pressure off of Trevor Lawrence, where it's like we got to start getting 4 yards, 5 yards on first down. We can't take losses. We can't end up in 3rd and 11 every single time, which is what it felt like over the last couple of seasons. So if we can just get Trevor Lawrence to 2nd and 3s and 2nd and 6s, where at least he can kind of make some plays on play action and utilize his legs, because he's a great runner. I think there's still a ton of untapped potential, which is crazy for a guy that's been in the league almost 5 years.
Just like visually watching him on tape, like he just feels like he's never settled in to like being a quarterback. Like he feels like he's always been like just like having to like tick just a little faster than he wants to on like everything he does, and he's like sailing passes because he's like feeling
hero ball,
feeling the pressure. Yeah. So I'll be really curious to see what that looks like with Cohen. Like just kind of give him the layups, because like God, he needs it so bad.
Well, I think it's crazy because like for the longest time, Lawrence was the most talented player on the offense. And now that's not the case, where you have Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas. I mean, like there's legitimately great athletes and players on this offense where now he just doesn't have to be doing everything. It's kind of like, it reminds me of the old Cam Newton from back in the days, where like Cam Newton literally had to do everything when they had no receivers. It was like Devin Funchess and Kelvin Benjamin. It was like they just have to find somebody else to take over the game, and that was Cam Newton. So I'm not saying that that's going to be the outcome here for Trevor Lawrence, but I mean his 4,300 value in Dynasty, QB 19 value on Keep Trade Cut seems like a really, really good price to buy a quarterback.
I mean, I would definitely buy at that price. I imagine Dustin would not be selling him at that price still.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you have him, you're just holding. Like, there's no reason to move him at this deal.
Yeah,
I mean, he's going to get better.
Like I have Stroud and Lawrence literally back to back in my rankings at 14 and 15 this season.
Yeah, I mean, I drafted Lawrence last year, thinking last year was going to be the breakout and redraft. Did not happen, but I feel pretty good about him this year. I feel like he's going to be in that top 20 conversation for sure. Just kind of a pick your poison, I think, when you get into that 10 and 20 range this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, there's so many guys. I think we talked about in the last episode. There's just so many guys that I could easily put at like 11 or also 22. Like it's crazy.
10 until you get to like 20 for me. Like it's literally all one tier of player.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of just like, okay, here's your QB2s. You got to decide which one you like the most, basically. So I think Lawrence is one of those guys. So and when I'm in that tier, I'm looking for upside. So like Lawrence is definitely one of those guys. Yep. All right, let's go to running backs. This is a team that's definitely retooled this entire room over the last couple of years, specifically leading off with the big number 1 overall pick this year in our Dynasty League, Ashton Jeanty, going into a situation with the Raiders where Pete Carroll, his entire offensive identity throughout his entire career has been run the ball. His son is the run game coordinator there. Like they're just this is going to be Ashton Genty's show. You don't take him where they took him to not play him every single down. It's going to be, to me, it's going to be even better than the Bijan situation year one with Arthur Smith. So I as a RB3 in Dynasty overall, I mean, I think he's a first round pick probably in our redraft league, which values running backs very highly. Kind of curious where you have him because I think it was Charlie Campbell on the video I posted yesterday. Was a little bit lower on him, I think, just as an initial rookie because he thinks it takes a little more time to get going. But I'm curious where you have him.
Yeah, I mean, I've got him at RB6.
That's pretty high. That's pretty high.
I've got him for 320 touches total.
Whoa, that's a lot of touches.
So, carries, catches combined, and because I just think he's going to be very heavily utilized out of the backfield as a receiver this year.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it'd be shocking if he had less than 40 catches. Like, he's going to have a ton of catches. I also think, too, just like the offense with Geno Smith, I should say, it's just an offense designed for Ashton Genty. It's just like the perfect offense. Like, you already have other receiving threats on the team now with Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers. They added a couple receivers. He doesn't have to be, relied on entirely, but this offense is going to run around the run game and getting Ashton Genty involved. And I watched a couple of days ago, I follow this account on YouTube that kind of breaks down film on the all 22 angles, and he had like a highlight package of Ashton Genty's best runs last year from the end zone view. And Sean, there were some runs that I truly can't describe. I'd taken a couple months off of watching rookies for a while because I knew he was good, obviously, but I wanted to see it again because it was so interesting. There were some holes that were literally just not open, and he just bounces off guys. There was a guy that he bounced off last year that ended up going in the second round at the linebacker position, bounced right off him like nothing. So it's not like he was doing this against like garbage players and bad teams, and like there was plays that should have been dead to rights, and he just outdid everybody. So I mean, to me, he's in that Bijan territory in terms of just like what kind of prospect we're looking at coming out of college.
I really wouldn't have any gripe with him going as high as RB3, if we're being honest. Like I think I hold Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs kind of like highly as those top two, and then everybody else, like you can make an argument for him over them, and I wouldn't feel as crazy. I mean, you got McCaffrey and Barkley, and those are both, for me, high injury risk players this season. McCaffrey coming off an season, Barkley touching the ball almost 500 times last season. Like that's no player has won the offensive player of the year and then the next season had a good year.
I mean, ever.
So
like that's kind of
over the last like decade or something.
Yeah, it's pretty long time. I mean, I can't really argue with anything. I mean, as long as he's in the top 10, I think that's where he should be. I mean, like he's going to be a first round pick in our redraft league probably. So that should be your indicator that he's going to be a very highly sought after asset. Then we had the trade earlier in the offseason with you for Kyren Williams. So that gives this team a locked and loaded 1 and 2 at the running back position for this year at the very least. Williams, maybe not from a long-term perspective. There's a little bit of a question, obviously, for this player, with the people they brought in, his contract situation, but all the guy's done is score touchdowns, Sean. The guy just scores touchdowns. So until he shows you otherwise, I don't know how you can rank him outside of the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, he comes at 8 for me at running back. I really think the only thing that could really take him off the field is if he's fumbling like he did towards the end of last year.
Right.
But as far as like this year, I mean, he's an RB1.
I think they're going to run the absolute piss out of him this year. I think it's going to be, let's just floor this thing till the wheels fall off. And then if something happens, we got Corum and Jarquez Hunter. We're good. No problem. Yep. I really think that's going to be the case. So if like for this year, redraft, whatever the fumbling issues, but like this guy is going to play well this year. He's had a disgusting number of touchdowns over the last couple of seasons. whenever it seems like whenever they're within the 5 yards, just it's Kyron Williams time. Like it's just that's his place on the field. For Dustin's team in particular, he was kind of looking for that, established running back. The James Cook trade was interesting there, but Kyron Williams, from a touchdown perspective, can't be overlooked, at least for this year. Really, to me, his only real threat is, like a fumbling issue, whatever. And then next year, maybe losing some of his value if he ends up going somewhere else and doesn't get the extension. But for this year, you got to love it. Then let's go to the handful of rookies. We can do Caleb Johnson, Bashal Tutin, and DJ Giddens. So let's start at the top with Johnson. A good prospect as well going into this year's draft. 3rd round pick by the Steelers at pick 19 in the 3rd round. He's a young prospect that I think he's just going to turn 22 when the season starts. 6'1", 224. He fits the profile, for the Steelers. They needed this kind of back in the draft where it was a little bit more of a rugged and, bigger back to kind of take that Najee role.
Specifically an Arthur Smith.
Yes.
Kind of running back.
They needed, and frankly, this is one of the guys that if you watch the Arthur Smith tape from last year, they did play a lot of gap and man blocking schemes, but I know Arthur Smith likes the zone scheme as well. Jaylen Warren can do it a little bit, but he's still a better fit for the, kind of put your foot in the ground and go type of thing. I think this is going to make this offense a little bit more dynamic. Having a guy like Caleb Johnson that can kind of do that. He kind of reminds me of like when Derrick Henry does those runs where they're like kind of these long stretchy runs, but just finds a way to make something happen.
Builds up speed and power. Yep.
And then that's basically what Caleb Johnson's good at maybe a great value level right now. But there's the upside is there and they're going to use him. There's no doubt about it. Like this is a Steelers type of guy. So like Judkins, I did have questions, dating, with his college history. I think Charlie Campbell even said something pre-draft about maybe some character issues here, but for dynasty wise, as long as he can stay clean and doesn't get hurt, like he's gonna get a lot of touches this year. The question is how many touches. I guess Sean is kind of like, he's a harder one to project because Jaylen Warren isn't going away. He's also probably the best 3rd down back in the league in terms of blocking, and he's a very good receiver as well. So, I mean, it seems like it's going to be maybe like a 50-50 split on those earlier downs and then mostly Warren on the 3rd downs. But how do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got Caleb Johnson with the predominant amount of carries between the two of them, and I've got Warren as a lot of projected targets between the two of them, like a very much like 1 and 2 in the 3rd down back split. That being said, Caleb Johnson actually, for me, kind of profiled not that bad as a receiver out of the backfield.
No, he's fine. Yeah,
he just played at Iowa where they didn't throw the ball, so like your like box score bros would be like, well, you never caught the ball. They didn't throw it. Like
neither did David Montgomery. Neither did Kenny Walker. Like these guys, just because they didn't do it in college doesn't mean they can't do it.
Yeah, and this is definitely a backfield where I'm probably going to be tweaking as we get along here, like in training camp and preseason games, because it's kind of like a tug of war of like one guy really fits the OC and the other running back really fits to me like the quarterback that you have on the field. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I mean, right now I've got him with 240 carries.
That's a lot of carries. That's probably even more than I was kind of thinking. The way I kind of looked at this backfield was like a little bit like that Cowboys backfield with Pollard and Zeke a couple of years ago, where it was like, yeah, like Pollard is probably the better, like receiving shifty or whatever back at the time. But he's still got a good decent amount of regular old carries as well. So I could see it turning into something like that, but maybe even more skewed towards Johnson. I just think the Steelers are just a rugged team, and realistically, like at the end of the day, like Mike Tomlin is going to want this type of back to touch the ball. If you remember, even like back to the Benny Snell days, like they even try to make that a thing because of his size and his speed, and that's kind of where Johnson finds himself in terms of like what kind of players they want to give the ball to a lot.
my rankings would show them both running backs as playable guys week to week. One being like a high end flex, and the other guy being like a low end flex start.
And I think that's kind of right where he's ranked on this team and where what's expected of the Elk on this team. Next guy on the list, we have Bashal Tutin. We kind of talked a little bit about how crowded this backfield was on previous episodes. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time here, but I still think there's a significant amount of upside for Tutin for this year. Just because I don't think anybody really knows what it's going to look like, and it wouldn't surprise me if he had a bit of a Bucky Irving like rise, where it's kind of just like, oh, like we knew he was pretty good, but like, how's this going to look? And then eventually it's just like, oh yeah, it's Bucky's job. Like it could be that.
I mean, I literally think it just comes down to whether he can hold on to the ball.
He fumbled a shit ton.
If he can get through the preseason and like look fine and not fumble the ball, I think the opportunity is going to be there during the season. But he's the kind of guy that could get into the doghouse pretty quick. I mean, Cohen comes from McVay, and McVay is pretty classic for having a doghouse or two on his teams from time to time. So it really just, you'll know. Like I feel like we'll know pretty early on whether he's going to be impactful or not.
I don't think there's a single team in the league this year, from a running back perspective, that I'm looking forward to watching in preseason more than the Jaguars, because every single running back I have some level of interest in. Because I think you're not going to see a whole lot of ETN. You'll probably see some Bigsby, but you'll see a lot of Tutin, a lot of LaQuint Allen, a lot of Jaquinda and Jackson, who I think could have made another roster. So like all five of those guys are legitimate like talents at running back. So that'll be fun to watch just as the season goes on. But for Tutin, I don't think Dustin should really be planning on, playing him sometime soon, but there is definitely a route to him getting significant carries as long as he can keep the ball in his hands. And then of course, beat out some of these other guys. I think he's just explosive, and they're going to find a way to get the ball in his hands at some point. So that should be interesting. And then Giddens rounds out the rookie group here. I'm a big fan of Giddens as a player. I don't think he's really a special player per se, but he does a lot of things really well. I think he's an awesome one-cut runner. His style reminds me a lot of like an Arian Foster from back in the day. That being said, he's a true handcuff at this point. It's going to be Jonathan Taylor all day, every day until something happens. So, I think he's a good handcuff.
Been a common occurrence. So
yeah,
probably going to see him at some point this year, which just gives you, I mean, if he pops when he gets his opportunity, that's just value right there, whether you want to keep it or trade it away, which is a good spot to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Giddens is maybe not from a standalone value standpoint, but just if he were to, or if Taylor was to go down, traditionally over the last 5 years or so, the Colts have not had a back that's been able to step in and carry the load. It's always been some sort of split between like Evan Hull and like these kind of random backup guys, Zach Moss, Marlon Mack, just like whatever randos pop in and out. Like Giddens is the one guy I could say like, oh yeah, he could get 20 carries and like actually handle it. Like, so that should be an interesting player to watch in preseason as well. Then just above him on the keep trade cut rankings, we have Tyjae Spears, who is still kind of entrenched in that 50-50 backfield, if you will, with Tony Pollard. I know you're a bigger Tony Pollard fan than I am. So where does that leave Spears for you?
I think he's probably like more of like a bye-week fill-in running back. Potentially maybe get started a little more on Dustin's team just because maybe you're missing like one more running back to really feel good about your depth going into this year. But I mean, I think he's going to be startable this year a few weeks.
Yeah, I think he's a fine player. His injury history from college seems to kind of be at bay for now, which is good. He's a player I liked coming out, but he's definitely not a workhorse type back. So no matter what the situation is, even if Pollard were to go down, I still don't think he would be utilized in that every down role. I think they would find ways to sprinkle other guys in. The Julius Chestnuts of the world. I don't know. I got to look at that Our Lads because I don't even know who their third back is at this point. But
Yeah, I mean, overall, like I think it's just an uptick for that backfield this season compared to last. Just better offensive
They got
line.
better.
You would
Yeah.
project quarterback play. You would hope is markedly better. So I think that just kind of like means wheels up for both running backs, like more so than
Added
in the
Kevin
past.
Zeitler. Forgot
Yep,
about that. Dan Moore.
Dan
Big,
Moore, but that
big
means you move Latham over to the right side, and you've got Zeitler, Latham leading the way on
Skaronski,
the right side. Yep,
Cushenberry at center. That's a pretty good offensive line now. All of a sudden,
yep.
Julius Chestnut is still the third back. If anybody was wondering, go get him. All right, let's move on to Marshawn Lloyd, Green Bay Packers. This is going to be his second year in the league. He's going to be turning 25 this year for a second-year player, so he's a little bit older. Just absolutely brutal year last year with injuries. At some point, I think I read he had like 4 surgeries or something last year,
It's not
which
great.
is just crazy for a running back. I got to be honest, like I liked him as a player somewhat, but I'm a little concerned now because missing a whole year with bad injuries and you're behind a true stud workhorse, I don't really see it
And
this year.
potentially the third running back because they've got another guy on this team that has kind of just earned opportunity for being a UDFA.
Yeah,
So
uh, I agree with that statement. I think you're
totally
talking
blanking
about
on the name. Fuck.
it's Manuel Wilson.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
So we'll see. I mean, like, I mean, once again, you'll find out real early if he's literally not even the other guy coming in after Jacobs. Probably just a cut candidate at this point.
which is kind of wild
Crazy.
because I mean he was like a 2.9 I want to say last year, and
Yeah,
I mean he was a pretty highly thought of player. The issue I had with him last year is he was an older prospect. He didn't do a whole lot in the receiving game. He's kind of just like a 2 down back, uh, and now he's frankly I mean even if he's healthy and back to whatever he was last year, he's still just a handcuff at this point. Like I mean until Jacobs leaves, I don't see anybody really cutting into that too much. So his value is definitely sunk from last year, about 1,000 points on keep trade cuts. So that's not ideal. So yeah, like you said, could be a cut candidate, but I think you probably want to hold on and just kind of see if you have the space to keep him around. Another guy that's kind of been going down in terms of just overall values, Blake Corum. The bringing in Jarquez Hunter hurts. There's no doubt about it. I think I wonder if the Rams are starting to turn into the Seahawks where they just take a running back every year, which I always think is just funny. But the way that they were talking about Hunter in these, I watched one of these like behind the scene videos, in their draft room or whatever. They seemed really excited about Hunter's explosiveness, which is something that frankly neither, even Kyren Williams to some extent, neither one of them really has that like crazy burst and get up and go. They're
right.
more of like get what's there for your runner. So like maybe that's something that they're more interested in, and that means not so good things for Blake Corum.
If you were going to give a designation, like you only got one player to designate as the league's jag at a position, I think Corum is definitely like a prime candidate.
I think he's in the contest for sure. Like even like remember like a few years ago AJ Dillon, like where it was just like yeah, like he's okay, but it's like that's kind of I mean the thing is we just haven't seen much of Blake Corum yet. Like we just didn't like he doesn't get on the field, and I don't remember seeing him a whole lot in preseason last year. So like I think this year you'll see a lot of him in preseason. I think you'll see a lot of Hunter as well, so that should be kind of fun to watch. But I mean, I don't really have anything to base it on because I don't have a lot of I don't have a lot of exposure to him at this point. Like he was fine in college, but fine isn't good enough for fantasy. Like it's got to be like yeah, you can get away with him as like a backup or something, but I mean, if we're talking about situations, I would argue that Marshawn Lloyd's situation is better at this point, which is kind of wild. Like, I mean, he's still behind Jacobs, but at least he's the guaranteed number 2. I don't know. I don't know. Well, maybe not even guaranteed 2 with Wilson there, but I don't know how to feel about Blake Corum. Like, I feel like his 2,800 number is pretty accurate for me.
Yeah, agreed.
Interesting.
I'm
All right,
trying
let's.
to think about him at all.
He's kind of just a guy that fades into the background. Roshan Johnson, is next on our list. I did have a chance to watch the All 22 as promised.
Oh, the floor is yours.
So here's the deal. He's not bad, but he's got stuff to work on. He gets what's mostly there for him. The only problem is that I saw, at least, is his second level vision needs some work. So the Bears offensive line, or the Bears offense in general, was just a fucking joke last year. Let's just call it what it is. They're bad. Their offensive line was never communicating really at all. The whole offense just seemed completely out of sync.
One of the worst interior offensive lines I've watched in a while.
They could not block anything in the middle. Roschon Johnson is a bigger up the gut type of back. What I saw was Roschon Johnson gets the ball. He's got to make somebody miss within 3.3 seconds of getting the ball. If he's able to do that, then he could get 4 or 5 yards easily, almost every single time. The question is, can they get somebody that can actually block in the interior, which they have? And then now it's going to be like, to me, he's a very similar type of runner to, like, maybe, I hate to say it, but like an Audric Estime, just in terms of like, just when you get the ball, he's got to have some space to work with to get going. That's the kind of back he is. He's not going to be like Bucky Irving making people miss like immediately. So as long as they can give him a little bit of a runway, I don't think he can't be the guy. I think he absolutely could be the guy to carry the ball 15 to 20 times. I could see that. That being said, like, I'm just not feeling good about it still.
The comparison I think that everyone wants to make is like turning Swift and Roschon Johnson into like their like great value Lions running backs from last year.
I think it's fair.
And what I'm saying is, let's turn Roschon Johnson into Jamal Williams from 3 years ago when Swift was on the Lions.
And the funny thing is, I think there's more upside with Johnson. I think like than Jamal Williams had.
Right. Jamal Williams also jag, like has never.
He was fine. Yeah, he was a fine back,
replacement level running back. Which when you put him behind a great offensive line and you ask him to get 1 yard on the goal line 17 times, like he could do it, and he did it.
Yeah, I mean, like I would call him a saw jag, slightly above average jag, if that makes sense. So like, whereas like I don't think Roschon's a jag. I think he's just like a little better than that. But that could absolutely play in fantasy. There's no doubt about it. So like if he does get like, you know, maybe a 50 to 60% workload or something in this backfield, like he could 100% have real fantasy redraft and dynasty value in that Montgomery or Jamal Williams role. All right, so I wouldn't bet against it.
What I'm going to tell you right now is you can replay this for the hot takes episode. He will finish ahead of Swift in fantasy this year. Book it.
Just based on touchdowns, probably, right?
I mean, he will probably get more carries too.
Dude, here's the problem, Sean, is I don't think DeAndre Swift is good. I just don't.
Everybody seems to like just want to hand him the fantasy crown on this team as the running back. Like,
I don't think he's good. I mean, he got run off of both teams. He got run off the Eagles. He got run off the Bears when they had Ben Johnson. So it's like, what is like? I understand why the hype is there, is because like, yes, he's the projected starter. Yes, he's explosive. Yes, he's still somewhat young. I don't trust him. Like, he's not a guy at cost that I would have any interest in drafting and redraft. He's going much higher than I would have him on my board. I just think this backfield, like the fact that they haven't done literally anything other than just add Monangai, like they must have something up their sleeve, and I think that might just be Roschon Johnson. I think that's just kind of what it is.
I mean, right now I've got Swift significantly below like ADP. Like he's my RB.
What's his ADP? Like 9th round, probably. 8th round.
Let's see.
Because I just don't believe in it. I mean, this team, I will say, like, it's Swift, Roschon Johnson, Monangai, Travis Homer, and somebody named Ian Wheeler. So
wheels up.
There's wheels up for.
Swift is RB 22.
I can't get behind that.
I've got him at 31. And
Yeah, I think like 32.
I've got
something like
Roshan
that.
at like 40 right now. Honestly, I'm thinking about just flipping them.
I mean, hey, I'm not against it after watching the tape. Like, I really don't think he's like I said, he's kind of just like he's somewhere in between like a Jamal Williams and a David Montgomery. Like, he's somewhere in between that. And if that's the case, he's going to be used in a Ben Johnson offense. Like, there's just no doubt. And he's going third downs. He's really good on third downs. So, like, there's no real reason that he was by far their best pass blocking back last year. So he's going to play.
I'm telling you right now, I think we found our 2025 league winner for fantasy football.
I mean, look at the keep trade cut value, 2,700. I mean, that's for a potential starter.
I send Dustin a first round pick every year. I might just send him another one. I don't give a fuck.
I mean, it's the same value as a 25 mid third. Like, that seems awful low for a guy who's only 24 years old. It's going to be his third year in the league and plays all three downs. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pump up Roshan too much because I still want to see it. But what I saw on film last year didn't make me think I don't believe in it. So, all that to say, Roshan's an interesting value play this year, and I think he'll play. I think he'll be in this lineup at times for sure this year. I think Roshan will absolutely be in this lineup. So, kind of interesting guy to have on as your 9th guy on keep trade cut value. All right, so the rest of the guys were like cut candidates, like we talked about. So we're gonna move on to receivers here. Starting at the top, I think we have 2 awesome second-year players that we can feel really good about here with Malik Nabers and Ladd McConkey. Nabers to start. I think it's pretty easy to see he's kind of that next up in terms of that Jamar Chase type of talent. Just the way he moves is special. He gets open. He's electric when he has the ball in his hands. I still think there's untapped potential for him still as a route runner. If he can get a little bit better at those things, like, he could be even better. The only thing really holding him back is the same thing as last year, is just quarterback play. I mean, we'll just see how it goes. I don't know if there's too much more discussion to be had unless you got something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little behind ADP with Nabers, but it's literally just because his team stinks. Like, I don't. It's not on him. Like, he's a pretty easy top 10 talent at receiver in the league at this point for me. Like, I mean, he's great.
He's just good. Yeah, like, there's
he got peppered so much last year, they literally got him injured. So,
I mean,
maybe a little worried for that because he's a little slight. So maybe you worry about him getting into compromised positions because they need him to do so much. But, I mean, he's wide receiver 1 or fringe 1 for me this season.
Yeah. I mean, I had him last year in redraft, and I feel like he was just like just a blessing to have in my wide receiver 3 spot that last year, because, like, at the very least, you're going to get targets. Yep. I just think he's going to be the next Chase. I've kind of just landed on that, where, like, he's that type of talent, and if he can just refine the route running a little bit more, he's going to be, like, literally top 5 in the league. So I love him. I think obviously getting him last year at 1-2. I think most people would rather have Nabers than Marv at this point. Yep. Which is kind of a wild turn of events based on where everybody had Marv last year. So that's interesting. Another guy that this team drafted last year, Ladd McConkey. That this is a guy that I was curious. I actually ended up watching the tape on him last week because
sick tape.
It's so fun, Sean. I couldn't turn it off.
He's so good.
I couldn't turn it off. I watched some routes like 7 times in a row. I was like, oh my God, this is
if we're just talking about tape and not production last year, I think he was the best receiver of the rookie class.
I think he's right there with Nabers. And I think he was better at Nabers than certain things, like the route running and stuff like that. What's crazy is, like, you would think, oh, little white guy, he's going to play slot. Like, he literally plays all the positions. He runs unbelievably good routes. Like, he's probably top 15 in the league right now in just overall route running. Like, he's just so good. Mm-hmm. I think the only question is he's small. He's probably going to get banged up from here time to time. He just needs somebody to take some of the pressure off of him in the receiving game, which you got to hope that it's holdout Trey Harris or, somebody like Quentin Johnson stepping out. Like, something's got to give, because they can't.
Rondé
Gadsden had some big time guy right now. The ghost of Stone Smart lives on.
At least he's signed.
Yeah, at least he's under contract. I mean, Mike Williams, God, he's already hurt.
Oh,
But did we all see that coming? Yeah, we did.
I couldn't believe it took so long.
I was expecting OTAs, so this is, this fact that he's made as long as it did is very impressive. He's like a Jeep Compass at this point. You just got to hope he makes it 4 years. So with McConkey, like at 7,100 on Keep Trade Cut, he's a top 10 dynasty receiver at this point. I have nothing to say no with here. I mean, the only thing is I think he's eventually going to get some extra help on the outside, whether it be Harris or somebody else next year or something. Where he might not be like quite as hyper targeted in a Greg Roman run first, run heavy type option on offense. So maybe like the production might never really reach that elite, top scale.
So that shifted last year where they became a more pass oriented team the second half of the year. Once
correct, yes.
Dobbins, like that production slowed down. So you think they're just going to just completely flip back to just run?
No, I don't think they'll completely fit back, but I think that it was an eye opener probably for Roman. It's like, oh, we have Herbert, like we can sling this thing around a little bit. So like I think they'll end up somewhere in between. There'll be a happy medium there where, another year of Quentin Johnson in the offense, another year of McConkey getting better, Trey Harris coming into the fold. Like it should be a better offense from a passing standpoint overall. So I can't really think that they will be, just abandoning the passing game altogether. But like McConkey's target share as time goes on might not be quite what it is, at least, or at what it was towards the end of last year. Like I don't think that's the expectation for me, at least. So that kind of keeps him out of that like mega elite tier and just kind of like in that tier below. I think he's kind of like, kind of where they have him, like wide receiver 10 to 15. Seems like a nice happy medium for this year.
You remember where Brandon Cooks used to go in fantasy every year when he was good?
Yeah, he was like in that 14 to
where you're like, but he would like kind of like just fall like a little bit, and like it was a value like almost.
It's like, oh my god, yeah.
I kind of feel like that's what's going to end up happening with Ladd every year. Where like,
but here's the thing: is I think people love Ladd, so like I think like when you see Ladd McConkey's name, like when I saw Brandon Cooks back in the day, it was never like, and I was a big Brandon Cooks guy. It was never like big excitement. It was always like, oh, Brandon Cooks is around. But like I think people will be like, oh yeah, Ladd. Like I'm in on Ladd. I think he'll just go higher.
I was on the soapbox last year for the rookie draft. I had him as our wide receiver 4.
Yeah, I think it was you and I both had him. I think I had him above Brian Thomas at one point.
I had him ahead of Brian Thomas too, which technically wrong, but not that wrong.
It could be a little bit less wrong.
It could have been worse.
If you were to redraft, I think we'll have to do this after this year. Is for content next year, we'll redraft that draft class.
That wide receiver class?
Yeah, just like that whole class was fun. That would be a fun one to just redraft overall. Because that had Jonathan Brooks and that had Brock Bowers, and like there's just a lot going on in that draft. So
and the quarterbacks too.
Quarterbacks. So Dunze this will be a big telling year for him. So it should be an interesting second year for the rookies from last year. Moving on down the list, we have Devontae Smith, who is just the most rock solid player in the league. Sean, like
just I love that
wide receiver 19 for eternity, probably.
I love that guy.
Dude, like, how do you like? You know what? Somebody had a really great post on X or Twitter, whatever the hell you call it these days. Like, there is a direct correlation for a guy that was number 2 on a super awesome college team. So, like a Brian Thomas, for example, the Devontae Smiths of the world. Those guys tend to work out in the NFL. Which
Justin Jefferson.
I mean, basically anybody from Alabama and LSU up at this point. But if you have 2 good receivers in college and one of them is like slightly undervalued, like that guy's probably going to work out. So like Jalen Waddle's another one. I mean, God, there's another Alabama. There's more there to the. I got to find that post. Maybe I'll repost it on our Discord. AJ Brown's another good one. So like,
I don't know who had more production, him or Metcalf. And Ole Miss.
Well, I think Metcalf was like the hype of the two, right? Like,
sure.
Obviously because of the size and shit, but like he was like any team that has 2 great receivers. So like actually this year the case might be Jalen Nolan Higgins. Like they were both very good, and one of them is.
That's what I just said. I just said Jalen Nolan.
Maybe I missed that.
I said
I thought I
no.
said. I think I said
I was
Waddle.
laughing because I was just projecting it. Although I just
I
traded
just thought you
him
were just
away,
laughing at
so
me. It's okay.
if it happened,
um,
guaranteed to happen now that I traded
it's
him away.
possible. It's certainly possible. So yeah, and that actually probably could be said with the McMillan and Adunze even to some extent. I mean, they were both pretty good. You leave Jalen Polk out of this, please. But anywho, yeah, just Devontae Smith's really good. There's not a whole lot to talk about. This is kind of just his spot, I think, on the team, and he's just a great dynasty asset to have because he's still young-ish and he's good. So, Emeka Egbuka is next on the list at receiver. Actually, we passed by Ted, so we should go back to Ted. He is currently wide receiver 18 on Keep Trade Cut, which
That's
is
high.
pretty high. But he was a high pick, Sean, and
Yeah.
I mean top 10 picks. Technically, if you look at the hit rates, like they tend to do much better. So I tend to side with analytics a little bit on this one nowadays. I'm actually kind of, like I said last episode, I'm kind of coming around on Ted a little bit more. I think he looks so fluid. He looks the part. I just it's the offense as a whole that does bother me a little bit. Like I don't know what this offense truly looks like in its final form, if you will.
What is it? Yards and touchdown production. What does like a solid to good rookie year look like to you for Ted?
For Ted, well, like I usually consider a good rookie year to be like just regularly before you consider all these neighbors and crazy outliers.
Mm-hmm.
I think a good rookie year is like 800 yards with like 6 touchdowns. Like that would be a pretty good rookie year.
So I've got him at 900 yards and 6 touchdowns, and that's wide receiver 40 for me.
And I think that's fine. I think that's right where probably he'll end up. But I also think too that that's just a regular old good rookie year. I think he has the talent to easily surpass that. I think the biggest question marks I have are what's the utilization look like? Where is he going to play on the field? Are they going to use him as a big slot? Is this going to be more Chuba Hubbard and less, slinging it down the field where I think he's best at? I just kind of need to see it. But the thing I keep kind of coming back to is he was a top 10 pick. He's going to a team that knows the value of a Mike Evans type of player, could be used in a similar type role. Like there is some projection here that I'm willing to believe in. That being said, there are some holes in his game still, and they're not going to get probably filled in within the first 8 weeks of the season. Like he's going to have to learn some shit. He's going to have to get off press better. He's going to have to figure that stuff out. And it's also a little bit crowded, that room kind of nowadays. Like it's not to say that it's great talent, but Leggett was a first round pick last year. Jalen Coker was not bad last year. He's probably the best receiver on that team last year outside of Thielen. So
yeah, and that's that's definitely part of the problem. Like they talked about when they brought Bryce Young in, they're like, he's going to be our point guard and he's going to spread the ball around. I was like, okay, he's going to be a point guard and he's going to spread the ball around, which means there's not going to be like a dominant, like just target monster on this team if that's the way that you're expecting him to play. First of all, now, if you're that good of a wide receiver, that ball naturally finds you. So there's that. But I just think that I'm not yet sold on Bryce Young, even though he had a very solid second half of the year last year. I think he needs to put together like a full season of that kind of play before I think he's going to be somebody that can support fantasy value out of his receivers. So I think that just kind of pushes down Tet a little bit for me. And he was a top 10 pick. I didn't see a top 10 pick on film. Like as far as like watching him, I think he falls more in line with like a Cortland Sutton type of receiver, which is a good quality receiver and a good X receiver, which is hard to find in the NFL, which tends to push you up in the draft. But I think that's probably like that level of receiver that I'm expecting in the NFL.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Like to me, he should have been drafted probably in the 20s, just based on talent. Mm-hmm. I think we said that many times already, but I'll maybe put this out there because I don't think I've really said it on the podcast. I think I'm a Bryce Young believer. I think I am. Like I really want to believe.
I want to believe. I'm not going to believe it until I see it.
I feel good. Like whereas the previous couple of years I did not feel good at all, and this year I really do feel good because like now the team They've gotten much better on the offensive line. It's another year under Canales. They've significantly upgraded all these receiver spots. Like, I mean, they're talking about Thielen as your 4 probably, as opposed to your 1, which is great. They added Rico Dowdle as quality backup depth at the running back position. The offensive line is significantly better. I mean, this schedule should not be challenging either. The NFC South schedule is not very good this year either.
Yep.
So like,
they play Atlanta and New Orleans twice. So
and that's always great. So, I just kind of feel like this might be a good season for Bryce Young, and he's such a nice kid. I want it to work out for him. So, anywho, McMillan, not going to be a top 3 receiver option for this Elk team right away, but he doesn't have to be.
I will just branch Leggett off of this real quick since he's got both of them.
Sure, fair enough. Yeah,
talked about the Panthers. I think it helps Leggett so much to he is so much more dangerous of a receiver off of the line of scrimmage, and they had to move him to X like halfway through the season last year, and he just got significantly worse.
You want to hear something funny though? I'm
super excited to see what happens with him this year.
I don't think he's the best slot receiver on this team.
No, Coker's the best slot receiver on this team.
Which is crazy, but this crazy work because he was an undrafted free agent last year, and Leggett was a first-round pick last year.
But Leggett's the chess piece that you like. You just want to move him around everywhere. You want him to be running like crosses and
he needs to be Rashee Rice.
He needs to be now, running.
Will they do that?
Defenders,
right? Sure. He needs to be mesh route god. That's his play. You get him the ball, get him open the field, and let him just run over people. Like that's. And can they work that into the offense? They should be able to. Now that they have a real X.
Canales definitely coaching with a hand behind his back last year compared to the year before with Tampa, because just the talent drop off was crazy.
It just wasn't there.
But he was an OC that like knew where his bread was buttered, so to speak. Like he will put players in the position that they're good at to do something with the ball. So I tend to believe that it's going to be a decent jump for Leggett this year.
I think Canales is actually a good coach too. Like I'm just kind of like, as much as I didn't like it when he left, and I think he's a fine coach. I think he's going to find a way to make his guys work out. So but that being said, from a dynasty perspective and for this team, I don't know if he's ever really going to be a real fantasy superstar asset because he's limited. He's just like a limited player. Kind of reminds me a lot of like, wow, this might be a bit of a full circle, but I think he's kind of like a Cordero Patterson a little bit, like where before he turned into a running back, where he was a first-round pick. The hype was like, oh, he's big, he's fast, but like really the only thing he's good at is just kind of running like these crosser routes and isn't good at anything else. Big guy.
Maybe like a Curtis Samuel type.
Yeah, like
Carolina.
Yeah, if you like mix Cordero Patterson and Curtis Samuel together, that's what you get. So which is not great for fantasy. So
I mean, I'd be excited about him getting like some carries into the backfield. I think that'd be pretty cool, or lining up in the backfield.
I mean, if Leggett was in like, imagine Leggett in like a Cohen offense, like where they're just like doing little end arounds and sweeps and shit. Like he's the perfect player for that.
If you can get him lined up with a linebacker and just have him run a wheel out of the backfield,
great.
He wins. My God,
he wins. But that's the thing is like he's a manufactured touch guy, which I hate to say it, but that's kind of where he is right now. For a first-round pick, that's not good enough. And for Dustin's team, he's just not a reliable enough target right now to like put into your lineup and feel good about it. So, anywho, let's keep moving to Ekbuga at the receiver position. A first-round pick by the Bucs, a surprise first-round pick. I mean, when we were at James's house for the draft, we were all kind of scratching our heads at why. As time has gone on, I hate the pick a lot less. Kind of just thinking about just the overall needs of the Buccaneers at the time, how the trajectory of the receivers has gone kind of over the last couple of years with age and injury and whatnot. It really does feel like a solid pick now that I kind of go back and look at. It's just a good BPA pick for them. That being said, maybe the opportunity for elite potential is not very high right out the gate. With both Evans and Godwin still in the fold. But to me, he is essentially a Godwin clone for all intents and purposes, like personality-wise, play style-wise. there's literally no better player to compare him to than Chris Godwin. So if he's going to be the heir apparent, if you will, and potentially even in the starters to start the year if Godwin can't go, should be a really good dynasty asset.
Yeah, I mean, it came across to me as just a hedge kind of pick, which like on the surface you hate like a
You don't ever
easy
like to
first
see
round
it.
pick as a
Yeah.
hedge, but like you just go through what they went through last year with the receiver, both guys getting hurt at different points last season. You're like, okay, Kate Otten is basically getting us through a couple weeks, and like this is not where we want to live. And it really does make a lot of sense when you bring it to that point. And considering we still have no idea if Godwin is ready to play, like who knows? Like
it seems like a 50-50.
Ibuka could just be fantasy relevant like right away, which I mean
most people would love that.
I have no worries about him being good. So
at the very least, he's going to be the third receiver because of just how polished he is right out the gate. So, I mean, if he can even at least be like minimum what Jalen McMillan was last year, which I think he can do, should be at least a usable asset at times this year, if not a much more usable asset if Godwin's down. So this actually turned out to be quite an interesting fantasy spot. After kind of questioning it, at least I was questioning it a little bit initially. So nobody's doubting his talent. That's the interesting thing here. Is just like we know Ibuka is a quality, talented player, and it's kind of like let's just see how the situation works out. All right, next up, we have Xavier Worthy for the Chiefs. He's wide receiver 25 and keep trade cut value, 5,500. He's going to be 22 this year. Very young rookie last year, 5'11", 165, which is Eric Delarada size, not ideal. So you never want to see that. But this is a player that really looked good in his limited targets last year. Like the times that they did use him on those downfield plays, like he's a perfect fit for this offense as that field stretching player. Obviously, Rashee Rice got hurt, so that kind of bumped his value a little bit there towards the end of the year. Hollywood Brown was out most of last year as well. So like now that everybody's back and healthy, it will be interesting to see kind of how the targets end up shaking out. I think he's going to be a bit of a boom bust player. I think most people have been saying that since he got drafted, basically. So I feel like that's probably where he'll settle in. But he's just so damn talented. Like it's pretty easy to see the talent here.
Yeah, I mean, his role completely shifted once Rice got hurt. Like he basically turned just kind of got put into the Rice role the second half of the year last year.
It should be a lot of fun.
So there really wasn't any production outside of like the Super Bowl of him winning deep downfield. Like it was all manufactured touches at the beginning of the year. So it'll be curious to see if him and Mahomes can get on the same page, because it wasn't necessarily like a Worthy problem the entire time. Mahomes was missing passes down the field too, which God forbid we say anything negative about Mahomes because he's perfect. But like he definitely has had some issues throwing the ball downfield the last couple of years without Hill on the team. So I think Worthy is kind of the guy that gets a little pinched if everybody's healthy this season. I mean, I think Rice is going to be the target leader on this team. I feel pretty comfortable with saying that. Probably then Worthy, Kelsey, and then probably then Hollywood. But like I think it really just kind of dilutes like this group of three players after Rice. They kind of pull away from each other as far as like targets. So I'm pretty far behind consensus on Worthy this season too.
He's ranked very high.
I mean, he's ranked. Last time I looked, he was wide receiver 25. I have him at least 10 spots behind that for me.
Yeah,
personally.
I just don't feel that good about that. I mean, to me, him and Hollywood Brown are very redundant type of players as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think if I'm looking at it on paper, they want those outside both receivers to be big field stretchers. They want the two, Kelsey and Rice, to be the middle mesh players. And it makes sense, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be matchup dependent. And it's going to be kind of like you'll have Kelsey and Rice be your more dependable week-to-week options, and then those two outside guys are a little bit more boom bust based on who's going to get the coverage rolled over to them. Are they going to hit that one downfield play a game that they always seem to try? So I feel like fine in terms of Worthy's long-term asset because I still think he's getting better as a player as well. Like he can run routes. He's not just a one-go guy. So I think over time, like I think they would probably want him to be in that Tyreek Hill role at some point. But he's still got a little ways to go.
Yeah, it's a disservice because he was the guy getting the gadget plays last season, but it's a disservice to call him a gadget player because he's a guy that is
He's not.
very quality route runner. So he's a receiver that gets gadget plays to me, which is just significantly like you get much more upside with that.
Yeah, and he's just small too. He's always going to be an injury risk.
Right.
Next guy on the list is Chris Olave, who is still only 25 years old, but mentally he's probably a lot older. He's got just constantly crushed all the time. I mean, I think I don't remember how many concussions he's had, but it feels like an awful lot. It really sucks because he's a good player. There's no doubt about it. Like whenever I watch him play, he's always getting open. He's just a really solid player overall. I am starting to really wonder, though, from a dynasty perspective and a fantasy perspective, I guess, overall for redraft. Not a good situation anymore. It used to be a pretty solid situation. Now you got Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler throwing you the ball. Rashid Shaheed has come on a little bit so that it's not quite as necessary to feed him the ball 7 million times as it was in the past. I just can't get on board with this ranking right now until I can just kind of have a little bit more something. Like it feels like only negatives right now for Chris Olave. I don't know. Like I need talk me into him this year, unless you don't want to. Like
I mean his ADP is wide receiver 35, and I've got him lower than that. So I mean, it's not a talent issue. Like he is a very talented receiver. And that's me. I'm not accounting for games missed. Like he's that much lower for me because of the situation he's in.
Yeah, it's all situation and his health. That's it. That's really it. My biggest concern is Tyler Shuck's going to get him killed this year because Tyler Shuck is the type of quarterback that's going to just jam balls in the spots that they shouldn't be jamming guys on hospital balls. Like I can absolutely see that. It's the worst possible scenario for Chris Olave, unfortunately.
Shuck just profiles much better as a guy that's going to be throwing the ball to Shaheed anyhow. Like
I don't even think he's that good at that, but man, I
mean, he does throw he throws a nice net ball.
I mean, it's good, but like he's so scared to even get into the position to do it. Like I don't.
Yeah, it's gonna be Kamara's gonna have like 120 targets this year.
He's just gonna
like.
If I'm wrong on Tyler Shuck, dude, I will be floored because
I have very little fear that we're gonna be wrong on Tyler Shuck.
I don't know. I feel like we might have to set up some sort of like punishment for ourselves for being wrong, like because he's so bad.
If we want to, if we're talking the optimistic view of how this is going to go this year,
like what's a good year for Tyler Shuck?
A good year for Tyler Shuck is like staying healthy. One, because he's a guy that's had a lot of injuries.
It's literally been impossible for him.
You want to limit stupid plays. They're going to happen. You're a rookie. Every rookie makes stupid plays, and honestly, just like being able to access all of the field in your throws, I think is what's gonna make me believe in him a little bit. Because right now he's just looking for the check down or the big play.
There's no middle of the field for him usually.
Yeah.
My problem, I think he's just Will Levis but less athletic. Like I just he has the same problems. He doesn't step up into the pocket.
I would take him straight line over Will Levis in a race. He's pretty quick.
Oh, he's long. No, he's long and he can move, but like he's not like what's the word for it? Like thick, where it's like he's gonna bounce off a guy in the pocket. Like I don't see that happening.
He's a baby giraffe.
Yeah, he's just a long, skinnier guy. Like he's more Glennon than he is anything.
Less
so
neck.
Yeah, a lot less neck. I don't know. I just for Olave, I don't feel good. I feel like he's a guy in redraft I'm just gonna let somebody else take.
But
he's still not a bad player.
Going back to like the optimistic view, like Kellen Moore loves to put his best receiver in the slot a ton.
That's good.
And like just pepper them. So like that's going to be Olave. Like Shaheed is like very niche into like what he does at this point, which he does very well.
He's just
But
an
Olave
outside
is
guy.
definitely the guy that's going to move back and forth into that position. So like the optimistic view is like he just gets a shit ton of targets. I just don't see
I don't know how he can hold
him,
up.
I just don't see him either A, holding up, or B, really producing a lot of touchdowns on this team. That's going to be where I'm at.
I feel like he might just be a better Wandale Robinson this year. Like a more talented Wandale. Just like everything is within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, check downs, slot. Like that might just be the role, and he's just a better version of it, maybe.
Yeah.
Anywho, let's go to another slot receiver, Khalil Shakir here. Much improved from the year prior to this past year. Still not a player that I'm like overly excited about, Sean. Like I had him on I think I drafted him in this league, and I thought he was a fine player, but I don't think he's ever going to be like the guy for Josh Allen. I think we've kind of settled into that in his fourth year. This year coming up, his contract year. Did he get? Wait, he got an extension, didn't he? It was like a bigger extension than he deserved, I think.
No, he got like peanuts, and it was kind of.
Oh, was it a cheaper deal?
He barely gotten anything. Yeah,
let me see.
He signed for like nothing for the production that he's giving this team anyway.
I thought he was like overpaid. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
No, I question like he should fire his agent after the contract that he got.
He got a 4-year, $53 million deal with 29 of that guaranteed. So essentially,
429 at like the minimum.
Well, I'm looking at the potential out is so it's technically the deal is 3 years for 29 million guaranteed. That's basically what it is.
De'Ami Brown got more AAV than that.
So did Tutu Atwell. Which so I get what you're saying now.
Yeah, it's a great deal for the Bills.
Very good deal for the Bills by contract definition. So just like as a player though for fantasy, he's not ultra reliable. He's a flex guy to me. And I just don't see much upside for more. I think he's just going to kind of settle into what he is, and that's fine, from a regular NFL standpoint. But for fantasy, I'm not overly excited. So his 4,300 value seems fine to me. Wide receiver 46, so it seems totally fair.
Yeah, I'm going a little higher as far as his redraft. I think I got him at wide receiver 39. So
that sounds about right to
me. About right. Yeah, he's going to be that like a very safe like wide receiver 4 to 5.
Yeah, it seems like for this team, he just kind of there's going to be a big rotation of flex players, and he'll definitely be in it. So Marvin Mims is next on the list, who finished the year very strong last year.
The camp chatter for Marvin Mims right now, too.
It's off the charts.
Wide receiver 2 on the team right now.
He's there's nobody that loves bullshit chatter more than Sean Payton. So, like, you can't trust a word that guy says. So it's who the hell knows what this is going to look like. I still think Marvin Mims is a good player. I'm just gonna I loved him when he came out. I drafted him. I probably should have just held on to him at the time, but
I mean, I'm down for a classic third-year breakout wide receiver. I'm here for it. You don't see it.
I think he's the guy to do it. Like, I mean, if you just go back to like the old Sean Payton offenses, they've always had that one field stretcher, Devery Henderson type. And like, why can't that be Marvin Mims? That's what he did in college. That's what he did his first 2 years in the league. He's awesome on screen passes. He's kind of the gadgety guy. Like, I feel good about him. Like, I think he's gonna be involved in some way, shape, or form. Now, is it gonna be, big time fantasy production? Probably not. But like, he's gonna at least be a solid rosterable flexy guy, maybe at some point.
He's that guy. Like, if you're playing Dustin on a week and he just throws him into that flex spot, like, he's that guy. If I look at that, I'm like, fuck.
There's the 80 and a touchdown. There's 80 and a touchdown just to fuck on 2 catches.
Yeah. He doesn't need much. He's
explosive. Like, he's good.
Yeah. I mean, if he
great hands.
I can't remember how many targets he had last year. It was in like the 50s or maybe 60 at most. But like, you bump that up to like 80, like
get him to 85.
Yeah. That he'll be relevant for sure.
I mean, he's going to be like an 85, like maybe let's say he gets 60 catches. Like I could easily see him getting big yardage numbers because it's going to be down the field stuff. They don't have another player like this on this team either. They have nobody else like this on this team.
Oh,
It's
if he
all
gets
these,
60 catches, he's getting 1,000 yards.
and I could see it. I could absolutely see it. So this is kind of a nice little guy to have on your bench. Like we're talking about this Elk team with just so many quality, solid guys at this point, where like he's probably realistically behind. He's definitely behind Shaheed for me, but maybe not even this year actually with Shuck. It's hard to even tell, but like he's in that grouping of guys, with Shakir, Mims, even Olave to some extent right now, Worthy, where like tons of flex options. So, and they all have upside. So like I really like the way that this back half, of the depth has really shook out for the Elk since this rebuild has started. So I think we have a lot of guys that we could play in this lineup and feel good about. Now, it's going to make it really hard for roster decisions next year, I think, because we have a zillion picks next year, and it's going to be really hard to cut a guy like Leggett because of the draft capital. It's going to be really hard to cut a guy like Mims because he's kind of also has some second-round draft capital. Even Olave, like Worthy, like these guys are going to all fall into some sort of bucket where it's like, all right, we got to start making some real decisions on how we're going to utilize these guys on our team to make our team better. Because if they're a wide receiver, if you got Chris Olave as your wide receiver like 6 next year, is that really helping the roster overall, or is he just kind of quality depth, or like how's that going to even look? Because we have 15 premium picks, I think, next 2 years for this team, so we have too many.
3 first-round picks next year.
I think he's got 3 firsts and like 4 seconds next year, so it's just more talent's going to be coming in, and it's not really slowing down. So like at some point, this receiver room is going to need to make some changes. So anywho, keep moving down the list here. Shaheed, we touched on a little bit. I don't want to get too much into him. Dell is not going to play this year. He's an IR guy. And then the rest were kind of our cut candidates, I think, Sean. So Ricky White was 0, unacceptable. Let's go to the tight end room. Tyler Warren is the kind of clear-cut guy now. So I kind of want to start with Pat Freiermuth because he had the biggest kind of change, I guess, over the last couple of weeks here with Jonnu Smith coming in. I really liked Freiermuth before the deal, like as kind of like a value-y tight end in redraft, in that second tier, outside the top 10. Like he kind of felt like a guy that was interesting based on the fact that they have absolutely nothing at second receiver. So I thought he might have been kind of a get the bump in targets there. Now with Jonnu Smith coming in, I'd feel a lot less confident about that. His keep trade cut value has definitely taken a hit over the last week or two. Yeah, he's gone down almost 1,000 points, which is kind of wild. He's still young though. Like he's still 27.
I really need to update my tight end rankings here because
you still got him up there.
I updated him. I still have Warren ranked like Richardson's going to be the starter. So maybe I wait a little longer because even with the Jonnu Smith trade, I still have Freiermuth ahead of Warren.
I mean, yeah. I
do not believe in the Richardson passing game. Now, Daniel Jones, on the other hand, that would probably move him up for me.
I still think it's Daniel Jones, man. I still think it's going to be Jones.
And
if that's the case, Tyler Warren to the moon.
But talking about Freiermuth, sorry, getting sidetracked.
It's okay. They're both on the same team.
I think he's still, like, as far as just pass game options, I still think he's the third option on this team. I think he's
just like that rock solid over the middle guy.
I think it's DK, Jonnu, Freiermuth, and Warren are probably the top 4 target earners on this team this year,
which is crazy. But that's the way it seems.
They make a trade. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think they'll find whether it be like the Van Jefferson or Roman Wilson or whoever it is on the other side. But I don't think that guy is going to be like A, trusted by Aaron Rodgers, or B, anything super special either way. So like to me, the Rodgers offense is always going to be, that primary number 1 receiver is going to get his targets, and then the rest of the guys are kind of like who's open over the middle, who's going to be on screen plays, who's the check down guy, and all those guys that you mentioned are those type of players. So like that makes a ton of sense to me. That being said, for dynasty or even a redraft purpose, like I'm not sure how lucrative that'll be. I think you'll get like some games where Freiermuth will have some solid games, but as an every week starter, putting Freiermuth in, don't feel good about that at this point. So Warren is just kind of the interesting rookie here. That it's like you said. I think the output is going to be very dependent on who's playing quarterback. If it's Daniel Jones, who does like to check the ball down, Warren is a perfect player for this. I still think Warren is going to need some actual development, whereas
he's not really that great of a route runner. He's just
not at all.
He's just get the ball in his hands and let him do something with it kind of guy, which
he's a Gronk guy. He's like, I'm not saying like he's a Gronk talent, but like he's a Gronk type of guy where Gronk never got open because he was shifty or agile. It was always just like big guy, get ball. And that's basically going to be what Warren is. He never did it in college. Now, the thing is, he's so athletically gifted that like I am so excited to watch him play. I just think there's going to be a little bit more growing pains than people are expecting for Tyler Warren.
Yeah. And I don't need to like adjust really receivers when it comes to like, okay, I got to update the quarterback that's going to be playing when it comes to like how much of their targets they're going to actually catch. But this is like one of the few scenarios where I'm like, okay, well, he's going to catch a lot more than like half of his targets now because Anthony Richardson's not throwing him the ball. It is a drastic difference, like to try and figure out. So like
if Daniel Jones is like 12, is like Daniel Jones like tight end 12 is in the realm of possibility. But if it's like Anthony Richardson, I wouldn't even put him in the top 20 probably.
I mean, I've got him at tight end 21 right now.
Like as it stands.
Yeah.
But I assume that would be assuming that Anthony Richardson is playing.
Yeah, that's when I had correct. So
that feels right to me.
It
feels right. And I think he gets a significant bump if it's Jones. I think he goes up to like 15 or something, 15, 14. He's going to be on the field. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. I mean, no doubt. I mean, and I trust Steichen to like get the ball in his hands, I think.
Yeah, this is a guy you just got to get the ball. You got to get him the ball. Because he's going to, like, this team also outside of Downs does not have anybody that really works over the middle well. Pittman is okay on the in cutters, but they're more like deep ends. They're not like meshy concepts or anything like that. So like they kind of need a guy outside of Downs that can kind of like run over the middle and just be athletic. And that's kind of what Warren does. I also think Warren is a good blocker. So it's going to be like, he's going to be on the field immediately. There's not going to be any of this, we got to pull him off the field for, I don't know, the ghost of Jelani Woods or Mo Alley-Cox or like one of these guys. Like he's going to be the guy. And if Ballard wants to keep his job, he has to be on the field. So, like I said, still like Tyler Warren. I think he's a good prospect, but I do think there's some stuff that he was doing in college that is not going to translate immediately to the NFL. Like you're not just going to be able to run over guys and get wide open on linebackers like you used to. So like there's going to be some growing pains, but if there's anybody that can do it, it's him athletically. So I feel like his absolute floor is like, like a Dwayne Allen back in the day, which is not ideal, like for a guy you're drafting in the first round, but like that's the type of player we're getting here athletically and from a blocking perspective. So like he'll be a solid player at the very least.
Yeah, I don't think there's a single team that turned in their draft card faster than the Colts did on draft night. So
dude, they were like, remember like the mock draft season? It was just lock in Tyler Warren to the Colts for like 2 months straight. And then at some point that shifted a little bit where I was like, oh, maybe not anymore. Maybe he'll go higher. Maybe he'll go a little bit lower. But then as soon as draft rolled around, I was like, yeah, we should have just stuck with the original projections. It's like, yeah, we all knew. So, all right. So that rounds out the tight end room because I think we talked about the other three guys pretty decently. Sean, could you maybe run down the 4 defenses that that Dustin carries currently?
He has Vegas, Chicago, Carolina, Washington. So not a lot of good defenses.
I was gonna say no elite.
Chicago probably the best one.
They're talented.
Is probably going to be terrible on defense this year. Carolina got better, but is probably still bad. Vegas is, I don't know. I really like their defensive coordinator, but I don't know if they've got their back seven is rough.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
I
it's
don't know. I
nothing.
mean, whatever you want to do with that.
Yeah, it's nothing like I was hoping to hear like, oh, we got like a quality elite defense in there. I don't really think we have one right now. It's just a mix and match, which is fine. Um, but if there was a clear positional advantage there, I would have probably called it out, but I don't really see one. So anyhow, let's go to the power rankings page here on Keep Trade Cut. This is the starters only page, and they have the Elk at 94. I think this is a little bit inflated. I'll be honest with you here. The reason for that is there's still some projections with the rookies. So if you come in here, you have Caleb Johnson. You also have Ted McMillan and Emeka Egbuka and Tyler Warren at tight end. So all four of those guys, we haven't seen yet. So I think that's maybe a little inflated, but I still think just in terms of the depth on this team now at the receiver position to fill out the flex spots, having two locked and loaded running backs with Ashton Genty and Kyron Williams for this season, three very solid quarterbacks to work with, Tyler Warren, a very, very good option, at least to start the season and into the next few years. This team has really, really done a great job, Sean. Like this is, it's not only just getting the picks, but making the picks count. To get Ladd McConkey last year, to acquire Kyron Williams this year, to get Malik Neighbors, it's really working out well.
The running joke with Dustin's team was he's just living in the mid for years, and
we are not doing that anymore.
We're not living in the mid anymore. No, he's going to have probably 2 top 5 picks in the first round next year, and
might have number 1.
That. Oh yeah, it's very, very. The chances are high.
The chances are very high for number 1 next year. So I mean, this team, I got to tell you, like out of all the teams in the league, at least as an Armadillo, GM, like I am the most scared of the Elk because they have all these good assets right now, and they still have more assets to go. So the only real question I have with this team is what is the ceiling this year? And what are we going to do with all these assets next year? Because there's going to be too much. And it's weird to say you can have too many assets, but this team actually has too many assets for our roster spots. So we're going to have to figure out some way to make that work, whether it be trades or something else. But Sean, what do you think the ceiling for this year is for this team? Because I think this is a 2025 team review. So let's see, what is the absolute ceiling for this team?
5 seed, probably.
Okay, so I think you could even go a little higher, to be honest. I could see it. And the reason
I would project him as a playoff team right now.
I think he's a playoff team too. And it's mostly the reason I feel a lot better about this team than maybe a few others kind of in the same bucket is the depth. Like we have a lot of guys, and not only that at receiver, but at running back, we have a few guys too, like the Bashal Tutons of the world that could, elevate themselves into that more of a established starter position. But as it stands right now, you only have to start 2. We got Kyron Williams and Ashton Genty. I love that. And then you got at least 10 receivers that could be used in any sort of mix and match way, which that's kind of the way I built my team over the last couple of years. So I feel like it's nice to have a lot of options at receiver. At times it does get annoying because sometimes you don't know who to start, but that's where I think not this offseason, but next offseason, you might see Dustin kind of go, okay, here's all the talent I've acquired. Let's figure out how to best make this a championship contender and, move some of the assets around that I need to. But as it stands right now, I think this team could get in the playoffs and make a little run if everybody stays healthy and maybe even these second-year guys like the Neighbors, the McConkeys, maybe Egbuka has a breakout season. Like this team could be even better than that. So
if we're looking at this team from like just a 5-year lens, for me, I think the only thing that can really put a ceiling on him is being content with the quarterbacks that he has right now long term. Because I don't think any of those guys we would consider as like game breakers in that like Lamar, Josh Allen, Hurts, Jaden Daniels tier of like those guys can just go out and just absolutely win you a week, no problem.
Right.
And like that's kind of a trend with the top contending teams in this league right now, where those guys are on those teams. So like for me, maybe down the line in like a year or two, like that becomes like a tough question because like you could be totally content with the three quarterbacks you have, which I would imagine that's what's going to happen because I don't dislike any of the three guys that he has now. But like, does he create a glass ceiling for himself down the line of like these guys are all good, none of them are great?
I got to tell you, Sean, the more I'm looking at these draft picks, I think we found our Arch Manning team. I think we could have an Arch Manning situation here. I mean, we have all these assets. And like this is kind of like at this point, other than filling out some more running back depth, like they don't really need anything else. So you would feel okay about taking quarterback maybe at the back half of the first or early second or something like that if that's somebody like Arch Manning came along. Now, speaking of these draft picks, Sean, this is disgusting. This is ridiculous. We have 3 first-round picks next year. One of those is the Muskrats, who is essentially a lock for a top 3 pick at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
You also have the Muskrat second round pick next year, which is a premium pick, probably once again 2, 3 or earlier. Then you have the Battle Axes and Dan's
second round pick too.
He's got then Battle Axes could, I hate to say it, Scavelli, but they could kind of be in the lower half of the league this year based on age and depth and whatnot. So you're talking about potential for Dustin to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 premium picks. 7 if you include the plague. 7 of the top 15 picks next year, which is insane. And then to back it up in 27 with another good draft class, probably even a better draft class with 2 first-round picks next year in 27, his own and then yours. So like we have so many picks. Like I said, I think we're from a premium pick standpoint, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 premium picks over the next 2 seasons on a roster that's already struggling to cut players. That's the only question mark that I see moving forward. We got to figure out a way to manage these assets and get the most out of them, because we already have the base foundation for this team with what we have already on the roster. Now, how can we just make this the best possible thing using these assets? That's the only thing. And Dustin has not, like you said, over the course of the history of this league, it's always been kind of a mid-fest trying to figure out where we're at, what we're doing. So this is a little bit of uncharted territory for Dustin to try to navigate, having all these amazing assets and players. So I'm really excited kind of to see where this goes, but I'm also not excited as an Armadillos owner, because this is the team that's going to make my rebuild, the conclusion of my rebuild almost here, much harder, because I think this is the team between him, the Cheese Fries, myself, Lionheads, a couple other teams as well. Like this is the team that was going to give us a lot of problems over the next 5 years. So I'm not super excited to see how this roster looks in a couple of years, because it's going to be really, really good. And the talent's just going to keep coming in. So, anyway, I think that's probably a good spot to stop at almost 2 hours. We knew this was going to be a longer one. We managed to shorten it up a little bit, not talking about Ricky White and stuff like that. So ends up being pretty good. We have another podcast to bring you next week, another team review. I think we're doing maybe yours next week, Sean. I can't remember. We got a couple more coming up here soon. And then once again, we have our redraft has the Chicago draft coming up. So I'm sure we'll do some sort of content there for the league as well. So at some point, we might have to do 2 weeks just when we get started kind of towards the preseason. I definitely want to focus on the rookies and maybe some of the running back battles as we get closer to the season starting. Cause like we were talking about teams like the Jaguars, I think we could really see, some backs and some of these backfields kind of shake out, like the Broncos, for example, if like RJ Harvey lights it up or something, kind of see a little bit more of these guys that we're really interested in seeing. So maybe we can throw in another episode there, but with all that being said, Sean, thank you for hopping on for another long one, and we will see you next